Hello everyone. Today I'd like to share my research, Critical Risk Factors for Transnational Public-Private Projects, a literature review. This paper has been accepted by Journal of Infrastructure System. If you are interested, please you can check online. And also the literature review will be the second section of my PhD thesis. Today, I'd like to share my research into 4 sections: introduction, my research methodology, results and discussion, and also the conclusion. Firstly, let's talk about the introduction. I think most of you have heard about the PPP. What is PPP? PPP means public-private partnership. That means the government invites some private companies engage in the public infrastructures, including the construction and also the operation. How about transnational? That means the investors invest into another country, not their home country, to another country to invest in the infrastructures. There are many interesting topics in PPP area, like the critical success factors, the risk management. What should I choose about this topic? I think risk in transnational PPP has some specialism. It's different from domestic PPP because of the difference of the country, the culture, the environment, the economic, all will be different. So this topic is very, very interesting in this area. Let's talk about our research questions in this research. There are 4 research questions. The first one is, what was the annual publication trend of the TPP-CRFs from 1991 to 2015? The second one is, what were the contributions of the researchers and also the organizations and countries? The third question is the most important one. What are the most frequently identified TPP-CRFs in the literature? And the last one, what are the methodologies adopted by previous studies, and also what other sectors have been studied? Let's talk about some background of TPPP. Transnational PPP is evidently different from the DPPP, means domestic PPP. It involves foreign investors investing in another country, whereas domestic PPP means they just do the infrastructure projects in their own country. And also, most developing countries do not have the capacity, the money to build some infrastructures like the highway, like the subway, or a hospital. So they want to attract other investors from developed countries to help them to construct these projects and also operate well. TPPP is become more and more popular around the world. I think the one background is about the international economic integration, and another one is the One Belt and One Road initiative produced by the President of China, Xi Jinping. Given the complexity of TPP projects, challenges, conflicts, and risks are very special and important. Factors such as adaptation to the new environment, the new economic environment, financing are all problems we have to consider about it. My research method is as followed in this figure. You can see there are 3 stages. I think this research method is very mature because they have been adopted in many previous studies. If you are interested, you can check some papers I referred here. In the stage 1, I use the title, abstract, and keyword search to get related papers. And in the second stage, I use 2 criteria to select papers. In the third one, I analyze it. In the first stage, you can see after use the title, abstract, and keyword search, there are more than 1,000 papers selected in more than 150 journals. So we add two important criteria to select the journals. The first one is they have to be searched in the Web of Science database, and secondly, the journals have published more than 2 papers, which indicates these journals are interested in PPP area. Then we selected 102 journals. In the second stage, we analyze these 404 papers in these journals, use view examination and content analysis. Finally, we got the final 37 papers from 22 journals. Third stage is the most important one. You can see there are the journals we selected finally and the papers source. Next, we try to assess the contribution of these authors. You can see this formula. It's a very classical method we use to analyze the score of each author. If we use this one, we can see that the first author's contribution will be better than the second one, and also the second will be better than the third one. This figure shows the score of each authors. Okay, let's talk about the most important parts, the results and the discussion. Firstly, I will talk about the annual publications. Secondly, I will talk about the author's origin, contributors. And next, I will talk about the findings. You can see clearly from this figure that the highest point of the publication of TPP-CRF is in 2010. I think the reason is because after the economic crisis in 2008, many governments are lack of money to invest in infrastructures, so they want to attract more and more investors, private investors, even from other countries, to help them to build more projects. After using the formula to arrange the contributors, you can see UK is the first one that gets score of 4.47. That's because UK is a developed country, which is the first country to use the public-private partnership. It's a source, and they provide money, classic cases, and projects for other countries to follow. For the authors, you can see Professor Wang Shouqing is the first one. He is from the Tsinghua University in China, and previously he is a researcher in the National University of Singapore. He published many papers about the TPP-CRFs. His score is the first one. Okay, after visual analyzation and user content analysis, we found all these 42 important critical risk factors in TPPP. You can see it from this table. The total means the times. How many times of the journals talking about these critical factors? The top five one we highlighted it into red. The first one is legal risk. The second one is cooperation risk between the public and the private sectors. The third one is tariff, and the fourth one is financing. Also, the last one is a political risk. There is a reference of these papers. Okay, how about the legal risk? I think law is the basement, the fundamental of implementing a PPP project no matter in domestic countries or in another countries. Compared to domestic PPP projects, legal risk is more serious because you have to cooperate with other government in another country. You have to adapt to the new, maybe totally different law environment. For TPP projects, the host country's legal conditions might prevent some boundaries for the other foreigner investors, even with strong political opposition. And also, for some developing countries, their legal system is not stable. Maybe they will change someday. There is a case from China. It's the Shanghai Dachang water plant. This is a PPP project invested by the British Thames Water Company, and after it operated for some years, Chinese government suddenly public policy that they reduce every project if it's signed with a guaranteed fixed returns for foreign investors. So this project has been taken by the government. It's a high risk for this company. They lost a lot of money. You can see the picture of this water plant. Okay, the second important critical factor is the cooperation risk between public and private sectors. Establishing a good relationship between the countries is fundamental to address the practical needs, thereby getting developing capacity and the relationship between government, stakeholder, and other stakeholders. The unfair distributions of responsibilities, risks, and even interests is some potential risks in partnerships. Differences in working method and their management science, technical style backgrounds are all important things in their cooperation. In transnational cooperation, each party really trusts each other. Especially if they don't have the cooperation background before, they are totally a new cooperation partner for them. So we suggest that a contract before the PPP project is very important. The third one is a tariff project. Is a tariff risk. Tariff means the price of the service. Maybe it will be paid by the end users. Maybe it will be paid by the government. But we have to make it clear before we construct and assign this project. In TPP projects, the government have many important roles in this project. They are not only the participants, but also the governor. So they have the authority to control the profit and the tariff. Maybe they will change it someday. It will have the important and serious impact to this project and the private company. The low tariff would decrease the interests of the project, the company, and increase the future interests for this project. If a serious emergency incident occurs or some previous contract has serious flaws or problems, I suggest they have some renegotiation system so they can revise or improve or decrease the price to make it more reasonable. The fourth one is the financing risk. When you invest in a new country, especially in some developing countries, financing is a serious problem. Maybe the local country can't support you to finance in their own country, and for some international organizations, they have the high boundaries for you to finance. The last one is a political risk. I think it's also a serious problem because the infrastructures are all political sensitive projects. It also impacts the government leaders, the political performance. The private investors to business is sensitive sectors with powerful governments, so they don't have enough power to negotiate with them. In most developing countries, the political instability affects infrastructure projects, including the insufficient payment, and even they will take back this project, like the case we talked about, the Shanghai Dacheng case. Okay. To review these papers, we can see there are many sectors the previous TPP-CRF papers have been talking about. For example, the water sector, the road, the port, and also the power plant. But we can see clearly from this table that 21 papers even not focus on a special sector. They're just talking about the general problems. About the methodologies adopted in previous research, you can see there are more than a half papers using the case study. As we talked before, PPP is a political sensitive project, so maybe doing the questionnaire or the interview is a little bit hard for researchers to collect data. So using the previous case study is a good way to do the research and analyze to do some demonstration projects for future cases. Okay, let's conclude this research. In this research, we explored research interests on TPP-CRFs during last 2 decades from 1991 to 2015, and we also analyzed annual publications during this trend. And also, we identified the CRFs of the PPP. We show this table to show all these 42 factors, and we discussed the top 5. And also, we analyzed the sectors and the methodologies adopted in previous factors. The limitations of this study, we only do this one search engine was used. Maybe we can add Google Scholar or some others in the future to collect more papers. And also, we're not using some software like VOS or SetSpace to do some visualization figure to show more clear about the trend. For the future works, I will evaluate the risk factors for TPP projects and also write up its scope to review TPP literature review in general or continue the risk evaluation. Of course, it's the future study of my PhD thesis. There are some references I referred. I'd like to thank these authors. And I'd like to acknowledge Sichuan University and Hong Kong Polytechnic University to support my study. Thanks for your listening. If you have any questions, you are welcome to connect with me. Thank you.